So, something bizarre happens, and some of you I can reach with this sort of thing. There's this place where I come, in one of these incredible national parks, and it's around this arena. It's kind of like a circle of about 100 meters, and every time I enter into it, I stand transfixed and mesmerized. And I ask myself, what actually is that? Am I on a ley line? Am I on some sort of ancient sacred ground? What actually is happening here? And this particular little bit of pasture land is cordoned off and out of bounds. Now that tells us something, why it's out of bounds. And what I've come to discern is whenever these realms are out of bounds is because somebody knows that there is special energy there. And they don't want it spoiling via the human energy. And I know that that is exactly what happens when human beings are allowed to traipse through certain realms. It destroys the energy. It depletes it. It contaminates it. It certainly does something. And so me and Mr. Nobody, we're having these discussions all the time, and we know, a great deal about how this paradigm operates, and we know that there's a hierarchical system here. Over and above all of our politicians and all of the gophers, there's a hierarchical system, maybe not human, and they know about all these things. And this is why all these prominent buildings have been built on ley lines and on powerful spiritual lands. And when we go back throughout ancient times, we discover that Saxons built forts on these particular places. Then after that, Christians did it. Then after that, Masons did it, and all this sort of things. So they keep using the same land all the time because there's a very, very powerful and rich energy there. Now there's something very, very deep and profound that's going on in this whole national park, but particularly here. And so they have these varying varieties of animal. They've got these highland cattle here. Then they have the alpacas, and then they have the rams, and all different sorts of kind of like exotic animals. And their energy grazes these lands, and then they keep them fertile. And this patch of land here is absolutely teeming with all different sorts of fungi through, let's say, 3/4 of the year. There's very little here now because we've got this sort of like period around about May where there's kind of like, there's just a hole in the fungi realm, and very little grows. You won't find anything, but then throughout the rest of the year you'll find all different sorts of stuff cropping up. But I'm going to turn the camera around and I'm going to walk you through a few of these just incredible trees standing here absolutely stately. And how the land looks so natural with these variety of shaggy wild beasts around, you know. They really are a very, very important facet to this land. And so there are people and there are forces that know these things, and they want to keep all these lands entirely for themselves. And so I was told last time I was in here 2 weeks ago that if I wanted to come here, then I needed to get some sort of a pass or a license. And I said, I don't need a pass or a license. This land belongs to me. This is government land, which is my land. And so I can come on here whenever I want to. And basically he said, yeah, well, you know, we're going to come here, we're going to do this every time we see you. I said, well, that's your job. But as far as I'm concerned, you know, I'll just ignore you. But anyway, I went through the process and I phoned up the council office to see if I could get one of these passes, and nobody got back to me, and I phoned them twice. And it turns out that there wasn't any such office which issues these passes. It's just a ruse. And so when, you know, they'll use all different sorts of preventative measures to stop you. But the fact of it is, people, they cannot stop you. There is no law to prevent you from coming onto these sacred lands, because they are our sacred lands, and there is no governance by the human being over them. They are a free-for-all. And so once we know that, then we can roam around these places free, and we can bathe in the superb, incredible energy. So there's a couple over there who have decided that they're not going to be listening to the Out of Bounds realm either. We come upon them now and again. There's not too many. Most people, they're just like, oh, the easy life, and they'll just stick to the tarmac. But today I have soil, I have moss, I have holly tree, I have stones with algae on, Precambrian stones, 650 million years old, and all that sort of stuff. And as I said in the previous video, I'm going to bring them into my home, so I'm bringing this energy into my home. And there really is something to be said for energy. And I wish I could, you know, allow you to be privy to the conversations that I have with Mr. Nobody, because we're speaking about this, and it really is, it's the sort of stuff that everybody really needs to know. But you see, I have to be in a certain realm for spirit to feed me this information, and I will start speaking about all these things when I'm in these realms. But then when I'm outside of these realms, I'll speak about other things, and very often you will, you know, listen to me having rants, and you know, I'm expressing how disgruntled I may be at certain things. But when you're in these realms, all that is dissipated. There isn't anything except perfection. And so when we start to look then at how our ancestors lived in these realms of perfection, we have to know that they were highly spiritual people, and they knew a great deal more than we do about what they are, and being in touch with the spirit of the lands. You know, you see, in modern times, we only ever really hear this from like native Indians talking about the spirit of the land, and how, you know, people who, you know, took that land away from them and crushed their culture and all that sort of thing. But, you know, all over the world, you've got sacred lands, because Gaia is sacred, and the human spirit is sacred. But what's happened is, and many of you will be aware of this, there are evil forces which are taking us away from our connection to Gaia. And they want to take Gaia for themselves, and they are farming us more and more and more. They're containing us more and more. They're herding us here and there, and they are preventing us from having this connection and realizing that this is our cosmically given gift. And so there's something very, very nefarious and wicked coming over the world. And we know these days that there's lots of people fighting against that. We need to have the greatest of awareness about these things. And so, you know, this is what I've been doing for many years now, bringing awareness. And so I'm just going to turn the camera around, and I'm just going to film something else which is absolutely incredible, the colours, yeah. So we've got this beautiful yellow bush. And I forget what the name of that bush is. And then we see the beautiful yellows, and then in the distance we see that incredible blanket of bluebells. How can anybody think that these lands are not sacred? They're not filled with spirit. They are just oozing with cosmic energy, with genius. This world is an absolutely incredible place. And this is why I have the greatest of objection to religions which tell us that this is hell and we're all broken and damaged machines and we've got to give our energy to something else and then one day we're going to go into this heaven. They're deceiving you, people. They've been deceiving you for thousands of years. Don't believe a single word of it. And you can discover all this sort of stuff by being centered, by being out here on your own, contemplating, feeling the energy. You'll start to realize what this life is really all about. It's a spiritual experience, and most people have been detached from that. They've been severed. It's time to get it back.